The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
We are beginning to remember our organic technology. Technology, when used correctly, can create an experience that the majority of the people the world over want to live. It is time to use this technology consciously for our own benefit and healing, and no longer unconsciously for our own demise. We are multi-dimensional creators, creating both our own personal experience and our collective experience moment to moment. We invite you to join us as we reawaken this technology through experiment and experience our power to create and manifest.
Hello and welcome everyone to this week's Collective Imagination Show. I'm sorry I missed last week, but I heard that Barbara carried on beautifully.
I rocked it.
You rocked it. So I hear. I do apologize. I had no internet at all. A storm came through and just took everything out, power and all. So it's beyond my control. But you had fun, from what I can gather.
I hope they had fun. I had fun, but I like to talk. So what can I say?
Hello to everybody in the chat room. There's quite a few of you there. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you all those familiar names. And you and I haven't had a chance really to catch up at all during the week either. And Dee and I very briefly talked about how things have been feeling energetically in the last little bit. And it felt, what I was going to share with you that I shared with her, was it felt like everybody around me for a while, for a couple of weeks, was like we're all on different timelines. Nothing was gelling. Nothing was quite connecting. And there was a lot of miscommunication and disharmony and all sorts of shit that was going on. And it seemed kind of chaotic. And then for about 36 hours, I'd say, starting sort of last Friday, Saturday, everything just sort of clicked in. It's like we all got back on the same page. And then it started to go out again. And it's just really interesting to observe. You can feel it as much as just watching the interactions. You can feel it. When you're really, really gelling with someone, you're really clicking with someone. And then to the extent that when you're not, it's so obvious. There's the disconnect just seems so extreme compared to. So it's like it's chaotic. It's happening all the time, in and out, connect, disconnect. That's what I'm experiencing anyway. Are you seeing anything like that?
No, not so much. But I kind of live a very a life of solitude. So I don't interact with many people except whom I see on the street
and on screen. And I did tell you just briefly before we went live, but it's now called Barbara Carnsing. Experiencing synchronicities, seeing butterflies, interactions with the animal kingdom. It's apparently called Barbara Carnsing now.
Well, my dad will be proud because he had 2 girls and he was the last male to potentially keep the line going. So that's why I never took my husband's name when I got married, because I wanted to keep that Carnes alive for as long as possible. So if there's something that becomes a process that people refer to as Carnsing, I'm all for it.
I think it's cute. I think it's really cute. So hello to everybody in the chat room. Please let us know what you're, I don't know, what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, what's really good about what's happening, what's, maybe what's out of sync. The challenges in terms of communication, both technologically and personally. I mean, technologically, I've had my Skype account hacked. I've had, the platform that I use for all my emails and everything has gone, just disappeared overnight. There's been one thing after another with internet and things like that, but certainly CCN knows all about that. But even on a personal level, it's like we're really being challenged right now to be. It makes me think of not the rights, what are they called? The 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word, because the misunderstandings, the assumptions, I'm going to just leave it at that, actually, misunderstandings and assumptions, because people aren't being clear enough. Or it's almost like we're all assuming that we just understand each other to such a degree that it doesn't need to be said, but it actually still needs to be said, and it needs to be said clearly, but being impeccable with your word is something that keeps coming back to me. I keep being reminded of it. And it's not even, it's being clear and concise with your communication, but it's also being compassionate and communicating from the heart, and not communicating from, a place of ego or anger, or, that's also being impeccable with your word. So yeah, I'm seeing, and it's not necessarily me all the time, thankfully. I'm noticing it, with people around me, but I have to go back and dig out that book, The 4 Agreements, and read up on it again. When something keeps coming up, it's like, go back and have another look. So I've had some things pop up, says Candy, from the past to be revised. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. But just so I could get a higher understanding. Honestly, though, this is the time to be of the highest integrity.
Can you repeat that? You went a little gobbly.
Oh, it's Candy in the chat room saying I've had some things pop off from the past to be revisited, but just so that I could get a higher understanding. Honestly, though, this is the time of the highest integrity and really walk our talk. Yeah, walking our talk is huge, because challenges do come up, sometimes daily. Sorry, you're going to see all sorts of people wandering around the background.
Listen, I don't mind. They all seem to be male and shirtless, so.
Anybody else want to get your gear off while you wandered around in the background?
He just danced across the screen. That was hilarious.
Look, we've got a nice female audience here. They're quite happy guys wandering around in the background with no shirts on. Okay, I'll see if I can do something about this. Nice eye candy. So feel free. He's done, he said.
Oh man, come on. And then you have to be.
You got a hubba. Oh, funny. Well, if they're going to do that, I'm getting their own show. I candy hubba. Hey,
it's on its way.
It's on its way. Yeah, that's true. Okay, sorry for that. I'm going to try and set this up so those who are here can actually listen as well. One moment.
Sorry, everyone.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Okay, so sorry for that interlude, or not, you know, that was all good fun. Can you pass me those, please? Finding that opportunities to actually walk our talk are coming up more and more. You know, it's one thing to be sitting around with friends and having a great chat and, you know, sharing your philosophies on how we're supposed to operate, and then someone comes up and gets in your face. You know, how are you going to walk your talk? You know, are you going to put that into action? And I have been in the situation myself. I've witnessed the situation, and I'm hearing about challenging situations that are there to see how much they're just testing us. Can we walk our talk?
Yeah, actually, I can relate to that because I have had a number of those. And each time they come up, I think, okay, now how am I going to react to this one? And I just try to bring myself back because I feel like it's a test, you know, just another reminder, just, and it's been good fun. But I don't knee-jerk react to anything anymore. I really take a moment, ponder on what's occurring, and try to the best I can to be an observer. And then sometimes I don't even respond. You know, the person's trying to get you to give them some kind of response, and I don't. I just, oftentimes I say nothing, except when we get those phone calls, and then I just love to play with those salespeople on the phone. But other than that, in the real 3D world where you can touch somebody who's across from you, I'm constantly just taking that moment. When I didn't do that, you know, when I was younger, and now I do it. I find myself getting in the habit of doing it all the time, because you're never going to be able to get rid of all the contrast, and that's okay. Because if anything, the contrast is just a reminder, you know, of the good stuff. Or sometimes you have to go through that contrast because it's the quickest path to get to wherever you're going to. So sometimes I just go, okay, well, if I have to go through this to get to what I really want, piece of cake, piece of pie.
That's a really nice way to look at it. That the contrast may well be the quickest path between where you are and where you want to be. Yeah. Depending on how you act or react, or whether you act or react. Yeah. Now you've got some clips. I've also got one, and I don't know. Biggie will just let me know when it's ready. I don't know what yours are.
Well, they're both. They're not really on any particular topic. I've been holding them for a while. The first is Lilu, and she's interviewing a woman I've not heard of before named Deborah Poneman. Poneman, and they're talking about how to raise your vibration in order to co-create. And then the other one is Eckhart Tolle talking about how opinions are abstractions in the mind, and a phrase he refers to as alert stillness, which actually kind of goes with what you were just talking about. So those are my two clips. Okay. Well, Biggie, if you want, you can play the Eckhart Tolle one, which is number 2.
But be careful with the habitual patterns of your mind that can become stimulated when you engage in conversation. And then you can easily lose presence, especially when you start discussing things or expressing your opinions, where very quickly an identification with viewpoints can come into your mind, which is ego. A viewpoint is a thought pattern or a thought, and as you talk to other people, you may find that their view or opinion is different from yours, and then you notice the energy arising, and you defend your opinion, not knowing that it's just an opinion. You think you're defending your very identity. That's unconscious. So be careful when you discuss things so that you don't lose presence. A wonderful practice is to look at another human when he or she is talking And while you listen, feel your inner body. We all are to some extent familiar with that. Feel your inner, the aliveness inside your body as you look at that other person and as you listen to the other person, so that you don't need to comment mentally on what the other person is saying. Allow the other person to fully express his or her viewpoint, opinion, or whatever they have to say, and be there as a presence. So be alert and still, and listen. See if you can listen from that place of alert stillness. So you look at them and you listen, they talk, and you're still and alert. It's beautiful. And then, at first it may be a little strange, because you might think, I won't be able to know what to say. But you will find. Words will come afterwards. But be careful that you don't get drawn back into your habitual patterns. So that's a presence practice while you interact with people. Opinions are amazing. Amazing things can be huge obstacles if you're identified with them. Identified means your identity is bound up with your opinions. And if you look on the internet, how worked up these people get, so angry and irritated, and what's happened to them? They're completely identified with their viewpoints or opinions. Their whole sense of self is in it, and anybody who disagrees is the enemy. And they love complaining. So watch out for opinions. The Buddha already talked, there's a sutra of the Buddha about the beware of opinions, the thicket of opinions, the jungle of opinions. Now, does that mean you can't have an opinion anymore? No, of course you can still have your viewpoints, perfectly fine, about politics, about social issues, about psychological things, whatever. You can have opinions, but is your identity bound up with them, or is it simply, do you recognize it as a viewpoint, an opinion, without having to defend it as if it were your very life? It's not your life, it's an abstraction in the head.
I can't do serious face now.
So
Sorry, well, you got. So go, Barbara, go.
I was just going to say, so the takeaway from that is alert stillness, and don't, and I hate to use the word don't, and allow yourself to take a step back so that others' opinions don't take your attention away from where you were really going. And I was telling Lisa just briefly a story that kind of goes along with this. It's a companion to that concept. And it just happened within the last week. I have a longtime high school friend, and we knew each other quite well when we were in school. He is now married, kids, grandkids, the whole kit and caboodle. He stayed in Indiana, probably either is on the farm or doing something more mechanical or something like that. I'm not really sure. But what I noticed is that an upsurge in the number of posts he was putting up about hating Muslims. And for anyone who watches the show, you know that I was married to an Egyptian who happened to be Muslim. And my son's half Egyptian, and I'm very close with all of his family. And speaking of not abstractions, but distractions, I can see that guy reflected. Come on, man.
That's Ben. And I've told the
Ben?
boys that if they're going to walk past, they've all got to take their shirts off.
I haven't got a shirt on.
Yeah, for anyone who didn't hear, said that it's now a rule that if you walk past, you have to be shirtless. But what I was saying was that there was an upsurge in the post. And when I saw the first one, I put a comment that was, very generic. It just really basically said, I see what you're saying. I did just want to mention that I have this family that's Muslim. I'm not Muslim, but those folks appreciate me just the way that I am, and as I do them. I've known a number of Muslims over my lifetime, and I hope that you take a moment to reevaluate this, blah blah blah. And in response, mostly from his family, there were more and more comments with more and more hate about Muslims. I mean, real hate, like that, that they are here to rape, that they are here to murder, that they are, it was more than obnoxious. It was, I don't know, there was no foundation for it. So I thought, wow. So here I took a moment, someone that I really used to know well, and shared with him my point of view, not expecting him to change his mind, but maybe just to take a moment and consider, that that maybe there shouldn't be so much hate. And what I got in response was his wife, his kids, other people with his last name, so they had to be family members, were posting more and more things with more and more evil and hate, at the nth degree. So I thought about, responding again, and then I took that moment, that alert stillness. I just stopped, thought about it, and realized that this wasn't a fight for me, that I had said what I wanted to say. It clearly didn't have any kind of impact, so that's fine. I felt like I didn't have a choice but to unfriend him, because I didn't want to see those kinds of things in my feed, because it's negative and it's just disturbing to me. And there isn't any reason for me to have to, be in a position to see that kind of thing. So before I did, though, I sent him a private message, and I basically just said, listen, you've known me since I was a kid. We grew up together. You know me to be, a kind person, level-headed, blah, blah, blah. I've known Muslims for the last 30 years of my life. I've never had a negative experience. They've all been positive. They're good people, family-oriented, et cetera, et cetera. And since there seems to be an influx from your family, for whatever reason, of hate, I just wanted to let you know that I am going to have to unfriend you, only because I don't want to see that kind of thing in my feed. So sometimes if you find yourself get sucked in from something mostly that's emotional, that, you have a knee-jerk, either egoic reaction to, or you feel like you have to defend another person, anything that you want to plug into that category, just stop and take a moment. Do you really have to participate? And the answer is you don't. And you can either stop the conversation completely, or find a way to wrap it up so that you can move on. Because all of those things from that point forward are a choice. You either participate or you don't. And you get to then live the kind of life that you want. If you engage in that kind of thing, all of a sudden you find yourself not only embroiled in it, in that particular conversation, but now you're attracting more of it and more of it and more of it. And you're going to find it in other ways too. So there's my off the soapbox now. You're muted.
Sorry, yeah, I was muted. It's not a conversation for this show, but there is a conversation that's coming around this issue for me. And it's as tricky as trying to talk about the Zionist issue, because I think the same thing has happened, in the sense of the Jewish people who affiliate with that particular religion, are being used. There is a terrorist organization, in my opinion, known as the Zionists, who hide behind and use the Jews as human shields, in a way. I think the same thing has happened with the Muslim religion. There is a terrorist organization that's hiding behind and infiltrating and using as human shields, yet again, Muslim people.
Mhm.
And the doctrines, the writings that this organization relies upon is not from the Torah. It's not from the religious text that goes back 1,000 years. It's relatively new. And it's being pushed out of Saudi Arabia through the Muslim countries and through into the Muslim religion. But again, it's hard to. Oh, I do need power now. Okay, I'm going to have to move because I need power. And people want to jump all over you and call you anti-something or a racist or whatever. Anybody who knows me personally knows that
you are now running on reserve battery power.
Yes, I know. Thank you, computer. Anybody who knows me personally knows that there's, I'm far from a racist, and this is not about, when you're dealing with individuals one-on-one, people are awesome. But when you're dealing with these collectives, this is where it can get manipulated. And I don't know, people want to talk about covering hair. I mean, there are so many different sects of Christians that cover their hair and wear clothes down to their ankles. I don't know what the hair covering thing's all about. I don't get it.
It's pride.
You do it under.
Well, in Saudi Arabia, it's a little bit different, and depending on where exactly you are, but traditionally the hair covering is a choice by the female, so that they can't. If they do it, they want respect for who they are and not what they look like. Respect for their religion, but it is a choice. And I even have children that are my son's age that are, I guess they'd be my nieces and nephews. And some of the girls still wear the hijab, I think is what it's called, by choice, because they want to be recognized for how smart they are and who they are, as opposed to what they look like. And they're both beautiful, beautiful girls. One of them actually did a little modeling. So it's a personal choice. It's not pressed upon them at all, except for in certain countries. But that is not a English thing. That is a local cultural thing, and they're completely different. Can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There we go. Yes.
It is an interesting conversation to have, and I know it's coming. I can feel it coming on a global. It's going to get pushed into the media simply because there is such this hate-filled propaganda trying to just throw a net over the Muslim religion in general.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, it is. I can tell you, for example, this friend I was talking about, he's also a gun fanatic, as are many people that I grew up with, because in Indiana, a lot of folks still go hunting, for their own, hunting for food, venison, things like that, not for sport. And so if you have people who are being propagandized with all of this hate messaging, who are also gun enthusiasts, you mix those two things and, you've got yourself an interesting situation about to arise, which is, I think, the whole intent by whomever's, doing this in the first place. But I guess, again, the good takeaway is that all of these things are going to continue to happen, and we're really, collectively, we could utilize our energy to but it will always happen to some degree, and it's how you deal with it. If you allow it in and give it any energy, or if you find ways to observe but not allow it to not allow it in, into your being itself.
Yeah. And I love Candy's comment. She said, I'm anti-corruption and anti-douchebag, no matter what color, race, or culture. Yeah. And it does go across all races, colors, and cultures. So, yes, I agree with you, Candy.
What did you, the last part?
Well, being a douchebag, you can find them no matter where you look, no matter what race, color, culture.
True. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if can you see me from? Can you see much, or is it
Yeah,
all glare?
I can see it.
Okay. And the little takeaway or the reminder that clip gave me, also getting back to it, was a conversation that I had with Dee earlier this year about objective and subjective truth. And we can attach ourselves very much to our own personal objective truth. And really, that's what it is. It's just an objective truth. But it's a subjective truth. And it's subject to your own experiences, and all the things that make up your personal perspective. But then there is, in my opinion, an objective truth from above that is above and beyond and encompasses all of our individual subjective truths. And if we don't get too attached to the subjective, we can get a glimpse of the objective.
True, because the objective has no emotion attached to it. It's just details. And it's the subjective that then turns it into something that could then become emotional, because a point of view comes in. One of the things we used to do in the law firm, we had these large cases, and we would have tens of thousands of boxes of documents that would have to be organized and put into a computer so that attorneys could search for, the contract between John Smith and Jerry Jones regarding the ABC contract between this date and that date, and get a short list of documents instead of going through tens of thousands of boxes every time. So there was objective information and subjective. The objective was the date on the number of the document, the date, who it was to, who it was from, and the ray line. If you needed to put any kind of a synopsis so that they could quickly find something based on the meat of the document, now you just went to a subjective comment. So as long as you are looking at the objective, which will always be there, that's almost like being the observer. It's when you put your own point of view on it or attach an emotion to it, does the objective become subjective. So, there you go.
And what's your next clip?
What did you say?
What's your next clip? You've got two today.
Well, you know what? Before we do another clip, how about if I share for a second? There was a really cool situation that I ran into at the university the other day. Let me do a share screen. This photo, let me make it smaller. I was just walking down the sidewalk and somebody had written this, magic 11 a.m., right on the sidewalk. And right when I looked at, and I'm walking in the direction of being able to read it the way that you see it here. And when I saw the word magic, I had my earbuds in, and whoever was singing at that moment said magical. At the same moment that I looked at the word magic, they said magical. And it's an 11 out of all the times of day. There were no details. Somebody spent an awful lot of time putting this in the sidewalk. It was on a football day, so the campus was just filled with everyone from school and all the alumni and everybody who was there for the game and all that kind of thing. And I was just lucky enough that I was able to direct my iPhone camera in such a way that I was able to grab a couple of the kids as they were walking down the street to make it a little more interesting to look at. But that was just so cool to me. I thought how wonderful that somebody would take the time to write. To me, it's magic at 11. So now, every time that it's 11, I see an 11, I think magic. And I thought that was just really cool. And so
that's a calm moment.
Huh?
A classic Khan's moment.
Yeah. Well, it was even cooler when, I heard the person singing say magical. I also had another one. Let me unshare. I also had another situation where I'm working on a project with some friends, and it's called, we're doing a competition for a client, and that competition was going to benefit the Wounded Warriors organization. We were going to give a donation of books to provide, educational resources to anyone who wanted them, to help them, become financially free with this client's product. And he's doing it in really good spirits, not really for a sales, campaign. And we found that the Wounded Warriors, we weren't going to be able to utilize them because they had no distribution method to get the books, the hundreds of books we were going to donate, out to their recipients. So we picked the USO instead, or the client did. But I'd never heard of the Wounded Warriors. And after that, I started seeing it everywhere. It was in a TV clip on Sunday night from, what is that show called? The Good Wife. And she talked about Wounded Warriors. I saw it in a number of other places. But that was really cool to me because I had also incorporated a James Van Praagh exercise where you go into a meditation and you try to connect with source or spirit or whatever you want to call it. And you ask for a word. Give me a word today. Bring it bring it to me off and on all day in fun and interesting ways, but just so that I know that that's the word for me. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, so Wounded Warrior, what does that mean? So I'm keeping an eye out if anybody can think of anything that's related to Wounded Warriors. And then I had one other one that I did share with Lisa. It had to do with Salem, Massachusetts, and the witch hunt. A colleague that I was working with sent me a screenshot, and in that screenshot there was another window open that you could just read the tab at the top, and it said something about a movie about the last witch hunter or something like that. So I was teasing this person saying, which one of us is the hunter and which one is the witch in this scenario? And so that got me to thinking, just the term witch, and I thought, because with Halloween just last week, I was thinking about the Salem witch trials that they had here in the States back in, what was that, the 16 or 1700s, whenever that was. And I thought, I wonder if that was also a kind of a Kabbalic effort to squelch folks like you and I, and by you I mean you, the audience, you and I, who have these abilities to connect with source, to everything from just basic manifestation to generally feeling connected, all the way up to psychic abilities. And Lisa even mentioned healing methods. And then within just a few hours, a friend of mine out of the blue said, here's a picture of a friend of mine who got married over the weekend, or got married on Halloween in Salem, Massachusetts. And so again, one thing led to another, and it was really interesting and fun. I love those synchronistic moments that I have. But that was it. If you'd like for me, we can play the other clip now, or if you've thought of something you wanted to talk about. Are you still with us, Lisa?
Yep, I'm still here. That was awesome. No, the next clip, because I do have stuff I want to share with you, but let's get through these ones first.
Okay. Well, the last clip I have for today is Lilu, and Lilu's interviewing this woman named Deborah, and they're talking about raising your vibration in order to co-create. So, Biggie, I'll pass it over to you then.
Once you start getting in the habit of actually trusting your intuition, what you'll find is that the miracles just begin to unfold, and then you can't wait to have one of those challenging moments where you get to choose what your intuition is telling you instead of what your mind is telling you.
The conversation these days is more and more, I just came back from Hawaii, but it has a lot to do with it's already there. Let's just open up to what's already there. Are you a believer of that, or that we're supposed to co-create or really declare or write it down?
I think all. Yeah. I think it's already there, but there's a story in the Hindu scriptures, and it's a story about how there's this town called Brindaban, and there's this huge flood, rain happening in Brindaban, and Lord Krishna, in the Hindu mythology, Lord Krishna takes a mountain and lifts it up and holds it so that the town of Brindaban doesn't get flooded. And when all of the people see Lord Krishna holding up the mountain, they run and they get their sticks to help him. So the analogy there is that if we have to do our little job of writing down our goals or visualizing what we want, it makes us feel good. But here's another thing. I do tell people that every morning they should visualize what they want for their lives, even though I do believe that it is all going to unfold anyway. But what happens is that if you visualize the wonderful relationship or the perfect job or the money flowing in, what happens is that it uplifts your vibration. And when your vibration is higher, then you are going to attract more wonderfulness through the entire day. So visualizing what you want, it might be like holding up your stick, but it also raises your vibration, and like attracts like.
Yeah. And what are the different steps, like when it's really, really low? How do you climb up this kind of vibrational ladder?
Well, one of those things is visualizing what you do want instead of complaining what you don't want. We all know that one. We all know the other one, which is gratitude. You know the wonderful Byron Katie, Loving What Is. I remember one time I was at an event with her and somebody said, what is the difference between what you teach and The Secret? And she says, The Secret teaches that you could have exactly what you want. And I teach that you could want exactly what you have.
Yeah. Accepting what's so, yeah.
Right, loving what is. Yeah. And as soon as you love what is, then it opens the door to greater and greater possibilities. When you're complaining about what is, that closes the door to the greater possibilities. So what you want to do is love what is, appreciate what is, have gratitude for what is, and just wait for those doors to open. And another way that...
So it's a matter of waiting too. You just said waiting for those doors to open.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That was awesome. Now, I'm actually going to share something with you that's got nothing to do with anything. It's just funny. It's just funny. Let me bring it up. This is the business hours sign on a store in Nimbin. This might give you some indication of what Nimbin town is. It's just hysterical, I think. Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
So it says business hours. Open most days, about 11 or 12, as early as 9, but sometimes as late as 2 or 3. We close at 5:30 or 6, possibly at 4 or 5, maybe as late as 10 or 11. Some days we're not here at all. Lately, I've been here just about all the time. Excuse me, except when I'm someplace else. But we should be here then too.
That is a crack up.
Isn't it?
Oh my God.
I had to take a photo of it. I just loved it. And I thought, that's kind of how I feel. Maybe I'm here, maybe I'm not. And even when I'm not, I kind of am. And I thought that just explains how I feel right now, and have done for weeks. But it's also very indicative of the town itself, and the people and the the shops. Yeah, I had to have a photo, and it's done in fluoro paint, so it glows at night.
You can still see it then?
Oh, that's hysterical.
I think CCN should do that and say sometimes we're on the air and sometimes we're not. because all the challenges that they keep throwing your way. Even when we're not, we are.
I might have to put it on a t-shirt. Make it a
Because
purpose.
it makes me want to give that guy my business. Whoever wrote that, I want to go in that store and give him my business.
Yeah. Now I actually have, for once, have a clip as well. I was listening to this a couple of nights ago, and it must have been every third or fourth sentence made me think of you personally, or the concept of this show, or the people that participate in this show and some of the interactions I've had with them. It was constantly reminding me of collective imagination. And I just wanted to share it all with you. So Biggie, when you're ready, if you could play that clip, it's Abraham Hicks, who, wow, my relationship with Abraham goes back a while, and always has the ability to, I don't know, bring me back to center, bring me back to that place of hope and positivity and joy. You know, if I ever get too lost or too caught up in world events or to whatever, I just go listen to Abraham. Sorts me out.
Ditto.
So Biggie.
I wanted to know how I can hear Abraham or other entities myself instead of through Esther.
Well, it sort of falls on the heels of what we were just talking about here, doesn't it? So the first thing you do is acknowledge every time it feels like it's happening a little bit. Like our friend said, sometimes I hear and I'm afraid to even admit that it might be what I'm really hearing. I adore you. We'll just give you some clues. When you hear I adore you, it's source. When you hear you're inappropriate, it's your mother. So
I get it.
So what you do is, you see, it's the same thing that we've been talking about. So as you set forth an intention and then you watch for and become expectant of finding it, when it happens, you'll feel the resonance of it that lets you know. Esther said, when she began receiving us and people would say, how do you know? Esther would say, I don't even know how to begin to answer that. When something is this huge and this big and this full and this sure and feels this good, it is not deniable, you see. So it's just a matter of setting forth the intention and then reaching for it. You've heard a lot from us here today that will help you a great deal. And we are so appreciative of this vortex analogy because it makes concepts that were at times more difficult to explain much more easy to explain. So where is the source who you are wanting to communicate with? In the vortex. What does it feel like when I'm in the vortex? I feel secure. I feel full. I feel love. So what happens to so many people, they'll have a problem that they are writhing in, and they'll say, oh, I need an entity to give me the answer. Well, they're in a step one moment. They're not going to hear the answer. Esther discovered early on, the question is a step one moment. You know the steps? Step one, ask. Contrast causes you to do that. Step two is source answers. That's what's swirling in the vortex. Step three is you got to get in the vortex. You've got to be in vibrational alignment with what you're asking for. So when you're plagued with a problem, when you're begging or praying for a solution, by focusing upon the step one moment, you're not in the vibration of receiving it. In other words, the vibration of the question and the vibration of the answer are two very different vibrations. The vibration of the problem and the vibration of the solution are two very different vibrations. So you let life cause you to pose the questions, but then you do every chance you get. You meditate, you bask, you look for reasons to feel good, you do focus wheels, you do anything you can think of doing to get in the vortex, in the vortex, in the vortex. And in those moments, that's when you hear those answers. You're not ever going to hear the answer to a prayer while you're suffering in the problem. Wrong vibration. You can't do it. You got to let it go. You got to let it go. You got to focus in a way that causes the problem to vibrate out of your experience. And when that is no longer active, then the solution will be right there for you, you see. So, what Esther does when she wants to talk to us, because it's tricky. You see, if Esther has a problem, she can't access Abraham. If the problem's active in her vibration, she can't hear us. 2 different vibrations. So she'll chew it over with Jerry. She'll say, let's get clarity about this. Poor Jerry. He has to listen to Esther get him clarity. Step 1, step 1, step 1, step 1, step 1. But it gets it out there. And then Esther knows enough to then just let it go. And often it will come up in a gathering, or she will awaken hearing it, or while she's driving in the bliss of the rhythm of the road, it will occur to her. All of you are receiving. Every one of you is an extension of Source. Esther is not unique, not even close. You are all conduits of Source energy. So we would like to activate within you an expectation of receiving. We would like to activate that within all of you, you see. There is nothing more exhilarating than to know and trust that the answers are within you. And now you know why sometimes you hear and sometimes you don't. And it's why you've come to not trust, is because when you're out of the vortex, you're not hearing. When you're in the vortex, then you know, you see. So what we would do, if we had something that we really wanted to know, first of all, we would talk to Source only about things we really care about. Things you really care about, because there's lots more going in your vibrational reality about that. And then we would make effort every day to meditate and quiet our mind and raise our vibration. And then the affirmations that we would speak would go like this. I know I am an extension of Source, and I expect clear conversation about things that matter to me all day long. I'll listen for it. And then, when it happens, acknowledge that it happened, like our friend. In other words, when you've deliberately set that up and then it happens, you know Source brought you that butterfly. You know it wasn't a freaky thing. You know it came in response to a request. You know it whether anybody else knows it or not. You know it. You can feel the resonance of it, you see. Every question you have is answered. Every time. The question is, are you in the vicinity of hearing the answer? And that's really what this gathering, which we've been calling the Art of Allowing for years, is all about. Allowing myself to get in the vibrational proximity of who I really am. So when people pray, there are prayers that are offered in such pain, and every prayer is answered. But when a prayer is offered from an attitude of pain, the offerer of the prayer is nowhere near the vibration of the answer or the solution. So the prayers that are most effective are the prayers of appreciation. The prayers of, this is what I love about this, and this is what I love about this, and this is what I love about this. A prayer from need is a vibration that prevents the solution. A prayer of appreciation is a prayer that lines you up with all things wanted, you see. So that's really a good way to look at this connection between Source. And you know, how often do you have insight and you know it came from a broader perspective? You just know that it did. Even if it's something as simple as beginning to walk out the door without your cell phone and then remembering to go back and get it. That's broader view, recalling what you want, and you being open enough to receive it all day, every day. People say to Esther, you're so lucky. You've got Abraham who can talk to you. So when you're driving down the road and there's something in the road, Abraham can tell you. And we say, can't get a word in edgewise with these two. They're always talking about something. But if there's something in the road, and Esther's tuned in, as she almost always is while she's driving, she feels an impulse to slow. She suddenly feels more alert. She sits up straighter and holds the wheel tighter and doesn't really know why. And when Jerry feels that she's turned the cruise control off because something is going on, he looks up to see what's up. And he knows that in the majority of cases, he will see the reason that she felt the impulse. Because you have broader view when you're tuned into Source, you see. Source knows who you are and where you are and everything you want. Source knows your exact proximity between where you are and everything that you desire, and is carving out a detailed path for you. And when you follow the impulse that feels good, you're on the path, you see. But if you say, oh, no, I don't want an impulse path. I want a letter in the mail. I want to be told, bet on this horse. Play these lottery numbers. And we say, Source is giving you something better than that. Source is carving out for you a lighted path. You just have to be in the vicinity. It just keeps lighting up and lighting up and lighting up. And that is the best expression of following one's bliss that we could offer. Follow the trail that feels good. But you got to get in the ballpark first. You got to get in the ballpark first. In other words, you just have to understand. And we think that you've done that here today. We think that you understand the vortex. We think you understand who you were coming in. We think you get it, that you are an expanded being. And we think you understand the power of your emotions. You know the vibrational relationship between you and you. You do. You know it. And now, never again will you feel an emotion, positive or negative, and not know what it means. I'm in the vortex or I'm out of the vortex. You'll know. And further, you now know what to do. Never again will you be focused upon something over which you have no control, which is giving you negative emotion. Never again will you do that and not know the futility of focusing there. You're not ever going to forget that the most loving mother that you have ever met, who experienced the most excruciating, unpleasant thing that any mother could ever experience, you're never going to forget that Abraham would not encourage her to go there even over something that big. Even over something that big. There is no excuse to focus outside the vortex. Now we know it's not easy always to focus inside the vortex. But the source within you will never go there to complain with you. So now you know that. You know you've only have one choice if you are to be who you are. You have to find the best feeling thought that you can find from where you are. And it's not that hard, is it?
There are so many takeaways from that. I don't even know where to start. And it's funny, you could be hearing this stuff. I've been listening to Abraham for years. But to me, it's because it is such an objective truth. It's so simple. It's never wrong. It's never off the mark. And it always brings you back to truth, to your truth, to center. There are, the things about, because of what I do, there's so much focus on all the things that are wrong with the world. Being aware of them, trying to understand their true meaning and connecting the dots between them and all that sort of stuff. Certainly plenty of contrast for me to be able to go, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't want that. But when we're putting that out there, I know I don't want fraud in my life. I don't want it. I don't want corruption. I don't want lies. I don't want police brutality. I don't, all these things that I don't want. But when I put all that energy into what I don't want, of course, you get more of it, don't you? Mm-hmm. Even if it's filling up your Facebook feed. It doesn't have to be in your world necessarily, but you become so much more aware of it. So just reminder to flip it into, I love seeing people helping each other. I love seeing people embracing their role as community support for police officers, for example. Mm-hmm. I love seeing people, and just trying to switch that in myself. And it's not easy sometimes. It can get overwhelming. But just that nice little reminder, because I need it all the time, to be honest. to make that, to just switch the vibration, switch what the energy that I'm putting. I love seeing people sharing. I love seeing people, really connecting and communicating. I love, and just trying to flip it in my own head, in my own frequency, and it's also when we come together on these shows and do these intentions, a lot of what is driving us to visualize the world that we want or the things that we want to change is all the shit that we're seeing that we don't. But to me, it's just a reminder of how important it is for us to get into that space first, to think about the things we do want, we do love, we do. Anyway, that's one of the things that I major takeaways for me from that.
Well, there's a guy named Michael Lossier, and he does this thing called deliberate attraction. And most people say, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. And it's easy. He goes, okay, well, now we know what you don't want. What do you want? And even if you just say it and you think about how you feel at the moment that you're saying it, when you say, I hate corruption, or I love it when there's peace and goodwill among people, they feel different. They're different vibrations. Even though we feel like we're saying the same thing, it's the intent is different. The vibration is different. And that's what's key. It doesn't matter what we say. It matters what we feel.
Exactly. Even Yoda mentioned the power of your emotions. Yes, Sheila's, I have to concentrate on what I'm into and drawn into, especially when you're a truth seeker, I'll put it that way. And you're always and you're constantly in research mode, and you're constantly looking at the shit that's going on in your world and trying to unravel the matrix. Oh my God, it's so easy. But it's brought us collectively as a species to this point where we know what we don't want anymore. And we have all had enough, but we're all sitting in a different space within that had enough. We've got those who want to fight the system. We've got those who want to break down, just trash the system. We've got those who want to just step outside of it and let it just go exist over there somewhere. I'm just going to go and create something new. Everyone's in a different space within that. But I think, at least from what I'm seeing, but I'm in a good space in terms of being surrounded by people who are reasonably awake, that there's more and more of them all the time, and they're all coming to the same conclusions, which is, okay, now I know how that works. I don't like it. I don't want it. It's not for me. But then where do you go from there? And because we are having this exponential awakening right now, there's a lot of people in the step one, as she referred to, asking the question or making that, acknowledging that this is not what I want. There seems to be so many more people there, and people who are in our situation, the audience's situation, we've been down this road for a long time. I don't know about you guys, and I'd like to know, actually, so if you're in the chat room, let me know. Are you seeing and finding yourself in a position of people coming to you more and more with questions? Maybe because of something you said to them a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that they know that you're the person they can come to talk to about this, or that you might be the one person that won't tell them they're crazy. Is that happening? Are you seeing more of it? I am. And helping people to try and get past that step one, past that fear or the rage or the sense of hopelessness, or whatever that step one emotion is, because it's usually somewhere in that range. Because it's not all bad. I mean, finding out the way things are might be, but then you got to step into, but there's something we can do about it. This is the flip side, you know. The answers are all there. Helping people to kind of hold their hand to bridge that gap. I mean, you said you're not really, you're leading a pretty solo life these days. So, but you might be seeing it even on Facebook, you know, with your old school friends, for example, or people that you've worked with over the years. And you shared that story the other week about the actor. I'm sure he's not the only one who you had an impact on.
I have a short list, but I don't talk about it because it makes me feel good to think about it, but I prefer that I keep it private.
No,
but I've been very lucky. Yeah, I know. I've been really lucky that I've had the opportunity to help a lot of people change their life. And at the moment, I didn't realize I was doing it. But they're also, it's not like I can just say something and make it change. It's an influence. And then they're the one that has to do something more with it. You know, you can be there, you can be supportive, you can share with them. But in the end, they choose.
Sorry, that's just a bit some. Okay, says Sheila. I don't know what that comment means, Elle. That's the best in a lot of cases, normal ones. I don't know what you mean. I wasn't not sure what you're referring to in that one. Oh, geez, the power of my computer just doesn't want to last more than 5 minutes. I've got to keep shuffling around. But Abraham, as soon as they said butterflies, I thought, oh, that's Barbara.
It happened even today, too. That's why I was laughing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I find it really helpful sometimes when you're kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed to just ask for the little things. Go back, start at square one, start at step one, you know, and just the little things, and just to build your confidence back up that yes, that's right, I am a creative being. Yes, that's right, this is my game. Yeah, and that's, you know, it's a HK holographic kinetics phrase that this is my game. And somebody made a comment actually earlier when you were telling us Facebook story about the friend you had to defriend. And it is a good one when you're in situations like that too. It's just like, no, this is my game. And if you're going to come into my game, these are the rules. And you set that space. My game is about tolerance and understanding and coming from the heart and blah, 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 whatever it is your game runs on. And when you do that, it's interesting. People leave you space. If they can't entrain to it, people will just leave the space or entrain.
And sometimes they come back when the time is right.
Yeah, they do.
So don't take it personally, folks. If somebody just disappears out of your life because you needed that at that moment or they needed it at that moment, trust it, allow it, and if they come back, then you know that moment was meant to be.
Now, a couple of weeks ago on the show, I brought up this carbon business. Because we've been talking a lot about what the matrix is made of, you know, and how we got stuck in it. And I'm still working with that theory a little bit. And I did share yesterday, I think, on the show, but I'll do it again. I keep getting these visuals. I'm starting to remember my dreams again, which is nice. And I talked about a couple of weeks ago, I had a dream where I saw the earth. How do I put it? It was like globes on globes, or bubbles on bubbles that were intersecting. But then the other night, it turned into a flower of life.
Mm.
In the sense of there is this objective and all of these other realities or timelines or alternates, whatever we want to call it, that are just slightly off, you know, and it's just a slight variation, and it went on forever. And that what we've been experiencing is kind of this blending. It's like one of those, have you ever seen those, it's a toy, you know, and it's a ball and you can sort of expand it and collapse it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, in that, but if you imagine that it's many of these balls all sort of creating a flower of life pattern that is closing in a little bit each time. And it's sort of doing this 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
You are now running on reserve battery power.
Thank you. And I have to move back inside. We're noises as well. So sorry about that. I'm gonna.
I'm also trying to. I think I'm losing my light a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, while Lisa's relocating, I'll do a little dance here. Biggie says to everyone in the audience, Lisa is gone. She just manifests her way right out of this reality into one of those parallel realities that she was just now talking about.
You got me?
Yep, we got you back.
Okay. So this was explaining to me, or it did explain for me, all of these so-called timeline anomalies and, you know, people feeling like they're jumping and everything collapsing, because as it does this, everything merges a little, you know, and that we're going to get to this point of one reality, of an objective, true core reality. We're on our way there. And it's almost like the chicken or the egg kind of scenario. As we get closer to this core frequency resonates or emanate, and it's almost like it's calling us to it in a way. That how do I explain this? It's really, I haven't tried to explain it before, so this is new. Yeah, I think that's the only way to do it. It's calling to us, and we're starting to tune into it and resonate to it. So the things that we think we're creating in a way, but what we're actually doing is just getting more into alignment with the way things are. So it's like, are we creating?
No, I feel like that sometimes. I feel like that also sometimes, that we feel like we're creating it, but then if you really are paying close attention, it feels like you're just becoming in tune with another vibration. And when you get to that vibration, then you slowly get in tune to another vibration, and it's, you know, it's expanding you, but it's at the same time, it also feels like it's a merge and a mesh, because you are creating it, but in that creation process, it's so elegantly designed that your own creation is part of the process of being drawn to this higher vibration or alternate vibration.
Yeah, because when I know that what we call in the flow or in the vortex, or whatever, when things are just sinking beautifully, and there's a what's the word? What's the word? Why is my mind gone blank? Momentum.
Oh, for goodness sake. He said, what's the word? And somebody goes, "Bleh," and burps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Momentum, and it's like you couldn't stop this amazing ride even if you wanted to. It feels like that. And things are just manifesting all over the place. It doesn't feel like I'm consciously creating any of it. It feels like all I did was get into the right lane, and I'm being carried, or that conveyor belt at the airport kind of feeling. Like it's just, you just traveling on it, and it's taking you there. So that's what it feels more like, rather than us consciously creating anything. It's like all we're doing is getting closer and closer to the alignment of what actually is.
So maybe when we're
out of allowing a whole new world.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what I was going to say. So maybe just the process of allowing then allows you are freeing yourself, you're opening yourself to enjoy being on that conveyor belt. It moves you over there, but you can't get there unless you get rid of all that muck, the anger and the hate and the crap and the frustration. When you let it go and you allow, it's like you instantly are offered this opportunity to be on that escalator or that conveyor belt or whatever, whatever scenario you want to use.
I think I could say it even simpler in the sense for what works for me. It's like just gratitude. Gratitude gets you on the conveyor belt. And
gratitude, for me, it's gratitude, joy, love, just feeling happy, any of those things. And if you think of each of those words in your head, you feel the slight variation in the frequency. You can feel it in your energy field. Any of those words, if I allow myself to think about something that's joyful or full of gratitude or whatever, I instantly shift to that other vibration.
Interested to see what people in the chat room.
Yeah, because the reason I gave those other examples, Lisa, is there are some folks, I know Dee, for example, thinks gratitude's bullshit, that she just thinks that's saying, that, what was it, the other one, gratitude and I'm sorry. There was another thing that she just thought was crap. So if that word wouldn't work for her, you'd have to find another avenue. And I'm sure there are lots of people. So find that energy source, whether it's joy or happiness or gratitude or love or, whatever works for you.
Someone just brought up Robert Stanley. Anton just brought up Robert Stanley. He was on with Randy Morgan's. Robert, what does he do? I haven't heard of him that I can remember. Do you know, Barbara? Have you heard of him?
I've not heard of him.
You look like you're about to say something, though.
I was just thinking, I thought of the other word that Dee really thinks is crap. Forgiveness. That's crap. But for other people, forgiving will be their release. So, there isn't just one answer.
Dee's probably said it's like getting on. Hang on, I'm going to say two things. First, Tracy said it feels like getting on a ride and saying "wee." And I think to clarify, Dee doesn't think forgiveness is crap. I think she and I are on the same page in that it's not the be all and end all. And
I agree.
You've got to go beyond it, and also that it has been, bastardized by the New Age movement.
Well, true, but that's part of their agenda as well. So, but some people think that, okay, well, if I can't, if it's just gratitude and I can't feel gratitude for Muslims, for example, if we go back to our earlier conversation, then they're left where they are. So, you know, just so everyone is aware that there are many, many ways to get there, just find the one that works for you.
And I realized a long time ago that forgiveness, it's not for the other person, it's for you.
It's for you. Mm-hmm. So you can let it go. It's a way to step from the subjective into the objective. When you forgive, you're no longer attached to all the emotion and all the stories. You step into just the awareness that that happens, but you're not allowing it to infect your, you know, your beingness.
So in terms of a collective intent, I was wondering how everybody felt about just setting the intent to allow ourselves, and I don't know how to word it or anything yet, but just to put ourselves in a space of allowing ourselves to be in tune with or resonate with this core objective reality, because I believe it'll be beautiful and is beautiful. And to just allow ourselves to be taken on the ride closer to it. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it probably needs to be refined.
I have no idea how to word it.
Yeah, maybe the people in the chat can help, because it does make sense. It probably just needs to be refined a little bit.
So rather than trying to make something happen or create something, just let's get it into the space of allowing ourselves to go on that ride, and so we can all be going wee for the next week.
Because you can even feel wee when somebody's standing in front of you acting like a real asshole, you know, screaming in your face. Because if you're truly looking at it from an observer's point of view, fully objective, just allowing, you perceive it in a completely different way than if you're emotionally invested in it.
Yeah. So how would we word this? Those in the chat room gives questions, and let me know if you like the idea, because it's almost like taking a kind of 180 approach compared to what we've been doing, and I just want to see how it feels different. I remember, I think it was, which one? Yeah, it was a Peaceful Warrior book, I think. Do you remember the Peaceful Warrior series?
No, I'm still stuck on Wounded Warriors. But yes, I know the Peaceful Warrior book and the movie. James Caulfield or something like that.
Oh, I thought it was Dan Millman.
Oh, you're right. Okay. You're right.
There's a scene in one of the books where they meet up with a cafe owner. I'm sure it's in one of these books. Anyway, the cafe later burns down, and the guy, it's his life, it's his world, this place, and he just collapses in front of the ruins of this thing and just bawls. Really there for a couple of minutes. Where's that coming from?
Are you talking? We have a jet going by.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. He only loses it for a couple of minutes, and then he takes a big deep breath, pulls himself together, stands up, and he's completely let that go. And it's like, all right, what's next? That part of my life is over now, so that's fine. Let's moving on. And we talk about acceptance and allowing, you know, and who was it? Was it Dee yesterday? Somebody. No, it wouldn't have been her. Was talking about how, you know, when you want to go in a certain direction, or you want something to manifest or create something in your life, and the universe gives you lots of little hints, little opportunities, and you ignore them or you don't notice them or whatever. And then something big happens, like you lose your job, or your house burns down, or whatever, something huge. But it still can be the quickest way to get you to where you want to be.
If you just will be open enough to allow that thought to come in that, wow, maybe this is exactly what I needed.
Oh, you've had a story like that recently, haven't you?
Yeah, with my ex. Well, I think I might have told it on the show, but just in brief, he was behind on his child support payments to his second wife. He got a letter in the mail that he didn't understand, saying that if he didn't pay all of it, that he would lose his license, and he's a car service driver. And he had been saying for the past 6 months or so, since I'd been visiting him on Saturdays, that he hated his job. He didn't want to do it anymore. He can't stand it. He just didn't want to go today. He didn't want to go tomorrow. I wish I would just stop. And yet he wouldn't make the choice to quit working and follow his passion. So the universe gave him subtle signs. And finally the universe came roaring in and gave him exactly what he wanted by sending him this letter and saying either you pay this or you lose your license. And he hadn't the money to pay it, nor did he know anyone who could give him enough to bring him current. So you ask for it, you get it. But he couldn't see it. All he saw was the terror of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got a couple of suggestions. Tracy says we could allow for our greatest fun to unveil itself over the week, that sounds like good. And Candy says, I intend to be in harmony with myself, my spirit, creation, and source in every moment. And I intend to perceive the truth in every moment. These are the two that she's been working with lately. So maybe we could do something by putting those together, which would look something like I allow.
Yeah, I like the word allow.
I allow myself to be in harmony with my spirit. Well, what about I allow
with all that presents
spirit to show me? I allow spirit to take me. Hang on, I'm going to play with this. Hang on. I allow spirit to take me on a magical, let's really have fun with this, on a magical mystery tour.
At 11.
Yeah. On magical ride. I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride in harmony with source. Okay, so how's this? I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride in harmony with source in the most fun way towards my what's the word I'm looking for? Towards my most beautiful experience of, sorry guys, this is really boring. I know we should have this. But I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride in harmony with source in the most fun way towards what?
Do you have to even say towards anything? Can you just stop off her way?
Feels like needs something on the end of it though. I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride in harmony with source in the most fun way.
Without limits. Except it has the word without in there.
In source in the most fun way. Or we could just leave it at that, but hang on, there's more input, I think. In greatest intent.
Can I also make a suggestion?
Yeah.
This isn't wording, but it's a concept. Let's say that spirit does that, but in the same way that my ex didn't recognize what was right in front of him, we may be given this ride and we're not recognizing it. So show me and bring it to me and show me in a way that I will recognize that you paid attention to this, or that you brought this to me, or something like that, so that we get signs, probably synchronistic signs or connections that let us know, oh, so this is it. Oh, so now I see it. Otherwise, we may not even recognize it if it's right in front of our face.
Okay, in truth. All right, so what I'm trying to get to is like, we want it to pull us towards this perfected, beautiful core reality.
I don't mind if it's a perfected core reality. I want to get on that conveyor belt, and I want to get in that lane. I want to just, get in the lane and let it take me wherever it wants to go, whether it's perfect or not, because it'll be perfect in its imperfection, even if it isn't.
We got lots of suggestions coming in towards putting the word in, towards truth or in truth, undeniable signs, with that which I wish. Draw us in. Yeah. Okay, I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride. What did you say? With undeniable signs. On a magical ride. With undeniable. What? That didn't work. Undeniable signs. Okay, I allow spirit on a magic with signs, in harmony with source, the most fun way.
To achieve my highest and best self. Reality. That sounds good.
What did you say?
To achieve my highest and best self, but I like the reality thing better.
What did I say? To my perfected reality.
Mm-hmm.
In the most fun way, to my perfected reality. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride with undeniable harmony with source in the most fun way to my perfected body.
Ooh, I like that. That feels good. That feels really good.
All right, guys, what about that in the chat room? Yeah, I like the undeniable signs. All right. Anything else? Any other feedback before we go ahead and do this? Well, no complaints. I'll take that as a positive. Love it. Okay, good. Let me just bring up something for you guys to look at on the screen while we do this, which will be this. Okay. So much going on this computer. Okay. Share screen. Let's do that. Turn my video off. Okay. Just copy it and put it somewhere else so I don't lose it. Where are we? Okay. Everybody get comfortable. Back nice and straight if you can. If you can put your feet on the floor, that would be even better. Just take a couple of nice deep breaths. Bring your consciousness to your heart space, your higher heart center. Really feel into it. Feel the warmth that you start to emanate from that space, filling your chest. Let's start to allow your consciousness to travel down your body, down into your legs, down through the legs, down into the feet, and come out of the bottom of your feet in roots that connect with the floor beneath your feet, down into whatever surface is below you until it hits the earth. Allow yourself to feel the different layers of the earth, the soil, the clay, the minerals, the crystal, as you head towards the center, the core, the heart, and the consciousness of this world. I see a red crystal, and I allow my roots to wrap around this crystal as I see all of your roots too. And they entwine with one another as they entwine around this crystal. And I allow myself to connect with each and every one of you. As I see each and every one of you connect with each and every other one of you. I share my gratitude for each of you and for the planet. My love, my appreciation, my joy at being here, my joy at experiencing these connections and creating these spaces. Now I allow myself to feel the energy of love and gratitude that comes from each and every one of you and from the planet itself. The unconditional love and nurturing that the planet has for each of us. Allow that energy to come up through your roots, all the way up into the base of your feet, up your legs, through the body, and anchor in that heart space. With a breath, allow it to expand outside of your physical body. Encompassing the room that you're in. Outside of that space, expand again into your community. Expand again. And see it go all over the planet. It's there for anybody to tap into, to tune into, to feel this love, this gratitude, this connection. Centering your awareness back in your heart center, create a little bubble in there where we're going to place our intention, which is, I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride with undeniable signs, in harmony with source, in the most fun way, to my perfected reality. I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride with undeniable signs, in harmony with source, in the most fun way, to my perfected reality. I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride with undeniable signs, in harmony with source, in the most fun way, to my perfected reality. Take a nice deep breath, and we're going to pop that bubble out as we connect and insert it into the huge bubble that we know already exists, that we have created and reinforced many times before. Let's see this bubble being added to it, along with all of the other bubbles that we've created in the past that are still working, still being energized. Feel all those bubbles. Visualize that you're standing at the end of the conveyor belt, a long conveyor belt, and at the other end is your perfected reality. It's full of wonderful people. It's full of love and peace and joy. Nature is thriving. People are thriving. Everything works in harmony. And now look down at your feet and see yourself take a step. Step onto that conveyor belt and feel it start to move you. And know that on this journey, on this conveyor belt, between where you are now and that perfected reality, there are lots of fun things to experience. Positive things, fun things that you can pick up along the way. And so it is. Bring your consciousness back to your center. And open your eyes when you're ready. That was fun.
It did. I still feel it. I feel like that energy you have when you're a kid and you know that like you're about to go to the carnival or something. And you just feel all that energy of excitement and everything. I feel it. It's all over. I got goosebumps.
Oh, awesome. I'm just going to copy and paste this, what I wrote, into something so I don't lose it. I have a tendency to have to then go back. Okay, so I allow spirit to take me on a magical ride with undeniable signs, in harmony with source, in the most fun way, to my perfected reality. So write it down and say it to yourself a few times during the week.
Can you paste it into a Skype box whenever you get a chance so that I can have it too for, sharing on the website and stuff?
There you go. Done. And it's in the chat room for those who want to get. She's dancing. It's good.
I want to go. Go.
Be interesting to see what kind of week we have. I don't know whether you guys do this or not, but going over that process again every day, just a little quick reminder, or record it into your phone and then play it back to yourself.
That's a good idea.
Oh, and speaking of which, a wonderful, wonderful man has been isolating our intentions. They're out of the recordings. So now if you, my web and you go to the archive of the show, you'll always see that there's the video of the show, then there's the MP3. If you don't want to do the video, you just want to listen or download the MP3. And then for the shows that there is one, you'll have just the audio of our collective intent. So
how great is that?
I know, awesome. And he's done them to music and they're just
Wow.
beautiful. So then there's not one there for every show because we haven't done one for every show. But for the ones there are, so if you want to go back and you can just go and download them now anytime you like. So you've got copies of them. So you can go and do your favorite ones whenever. So that will be happening. I'm sure he'll do another one for us today. So that's there. It's a real treat. So I know you guys have kind of got favorites that you like. So it's all done for you. You can just go and grab the one you want. I forgot to mention that last. Oh no, I was going to mention it last week, but I didn't get on. That's all. Okay, that feels good. I'm a little bit jazzed now.
Me too.
Okay, was there anything? Oh, Jim puts them in a notebook that he carries around. Cool. Yeah. Well, now you can have them on your phone or your MP3 player or whatever as well, which is fun. Was there anything else you wanted to cover up before because we're getting down to our last sort of
I would
minutes.
like to just remind everyone about donating to CCN. I donate. I encourage everyone to donate, and if you don't feel like you have any extra, money to donate, then what else do you have? Do you have energy? Do meditations for them. Do you have skills that you want to do some volunteer work? Give Biggie and Mel a shout and let them know what you have to offer. You can package your donation, your gift to them any way you want. Money's nice, but anything you've got, is wonderful. So please do that. I encourage everyone to, and I do it, and I'm going to keep doing it because I love them and I love what they offer, and they have just such a wide variety of programming available.
And I've just there is a GoFundMe campaign for trying to create the funds for next year so that we can continue to do this next year. I've just put it into the chat room. If you just sharing that GoFundMe campaign with, a little blurb as to why, if you're going to make a suggestion to people who perhaps have never heard of us or don't really understand why, just share with them your experiences of the network and why you feel it's worthy of support.
You really, if you think about doing it, if we did a grassroots level campaign, for example, and everyone just passed along a link so that folks could start watching the programming, those folks then pass it on, and those folks pass it on. All of a sudden, there's this huge following at a grassroots level, and there will be people who have the ability within this growing grassroots effort who can provide that funding while the rest of us donate our energy, our time, or just watch the programming.
Okay, thank you to everybody. This has been an interesting conversation. Took us into a lot of different places. And I want to thank Abraham Hicks, wherever you may be, for the reminder once again. And love you all. Love these times where we can connect. It's just beautiful. Thank you for coming on the journey and the ride with us. Candy, I gave a little time. I'm also up for volunteering. What kinds of skills are you looking for, Biggie? Would love to help. So if there are things, Biggie, that people can do for you, let them know. And apart from that, I will see you guys next week next Tuesday, my time, for the roundtable. And I'll be back with Barbara next Wednesday. Thanks.
The pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world should be the focus of every person on our planet. The reason it is not is because people are kept distracted by the illusions and deceit propagated by the corporately controlled mainstream media. In recent years, the rise in truly informed, savvy researchers and journalists who have all taken to the air in various capacities has given rise to a new genre of media. We have seen the explosion of truly free and independent media, and thus the need to create an ethical live broadcast network that facilitated these brave and tireless souls became apparent. With a great amount of research and meticulous planning, Conscious Consumer Network was created. CCN is a first-of-its-kind broadcast network that is specifically dedicated to free and independent media with absolutely no government control, corporate sponsorship, or advertising. The live broadcast network runs full-time with an average of 25 shows and live broadcasts a week. The high-definition live stream is free to view and is accessible from any computer terminal with online access, including laptops, tablets, smartphones, and smart TVs. All shows are archived onto YouTube and are freely available to view in order to educate and inform as many as we can without imposing monetary limitations. CCN was successfully launched on the 1st of January 2015 and has gone from strength to strength as we have improved and increased the capacities and functionalities of the network, as well as an ever-rotating and improving lineup of content which is broadcast daily. CCN is blessed to be the home of some of the hardest-hitting, most cutting-edge, truly educational and informative materials. Catch interviews, reviews, and talk shows from the many different and beautiful perspectives from CCN's family of interviewers and broadcasters. Since the 1st of January 2015, we have produced over 800 shows. We have over 2 million YouTube minutes watched every month, and we have an average of 1 million hits a day on CCN's website. CCN is viewed in over 147 different countries and hosts broadcasters from 5 different continents. The time has now come to generate funding to keep CCN on the air for the duration of 2016. The total sum needed to continue broadcasting for 2016 is $60,000. This budget includes the replacement of computer equipment, the acquisition of secure servers, which are most needed as we keep getting hacked, plus the renewal of the broadcast license fee for 2016. This is a fraction of the annual budget used by mainstream media networks producing a similar quantity of content. This is what makes CCN so successful, unique, and accessible, is the ability to run a project of this size and reach on such minimal resources. CCN does not claim ownership over any of the material we produce and broadcast, as we firmly believe that information is the common heritage of all beings, and thus CCN belongs to you, the public, and it is up to you all to keep CCN going. CCN would like to thank those who have contributed to the network in the past with resources, content, information, time, and energy. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.